Don't you just love the way God works in our lives and through this? My testimony today is about a journey, and we've been doing the journey, and then all of the things that are happening today have just sort of been reinforcing exactly what I have prepared for today. So I just love the way God works. He is unbelievable, amazing. And I love the fact that throughout this, we've been talking about answered prayer. So I'm just going to launch straight into this. This is about my epic journey from Newcastle to Perth, a testimony of growth from a cross-country adventure. So it's just about the trip that I went on, and I'm just going to be talking about it and really the answered prayer that came through while I was doing this trip. Next page. Oh, yeah, I've got to move to my next page. When I retired this year, I had great plans to travel extensively in my camper van. I had so many places I was going to do and see, and it was all on my timeline and how I was going to do it and what was going to get prepared and how things were going to flow, blah, 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 blah. But God's plans didn't necessarily line up with mine. Next slide. So I just probably need to give you a bit of backstory. In June of 2023, I had a hip replacement to my right leg, and it didn't go as planned. Unfortunately, they had the wrong device to put inside me, so I was on the operating table for longer than expected, and I had a retractor that had been placed on my sciatic nerve, which damaged my leg. And so I ended up with a thing called a drop foot, and for those people who don't know what a drop foot is, the sciatic nerve sort of starts here and goes down here, and from here down I virtually had no leg. It didn't work. So I didn't have this movement, I didn't have that movement. I couldn't lift my leg. It was just like a dead weight from my knee down. So just remember June 2023. So my plans to drive across country and do all this travel really wasn't something that was going to be now happening because I couldn't drive. When you have a hip replacement, they do say that you're 6 weeks and you'll be recovered. But this was not what I had planned. I had a leg that didn't work. I had a manual car that I couldn't actually lift my leg up. I had to wear special things on my legs. Anyway, so that was that. But God is a great healer. Don't think that. So 8 weeks later, if you could just run that video. On the way.
This is the 5th of August, 2023. Linda, driving again.
Putting on the AC like there's no tomorrow. Changing gears just a little differently. Foot's working a little bit differently than what I would normally be used to. But yes. Funny. Happy James. Woohoo. So God did have other plans for me because at 8 weeks he got me driving again and gave me confidence to go, wow, your leg's working again. You can put your leg up and down. I spoke to a wonderful OT, so where's Margaret? She's an occupational therapist, who said, you know, amputees can drive with artificial legs, so why can't you? And I'm like, okay, didn't know that. So whether you realise it or not, you use other senses when you drive. You use your vision, your hearing, your sense, your learnt memory, all sorts of things. Anyway, that was me on the 8th of August, as you heard me say. But unfortunately, God had another little plan for me, and I fell over in my house and dislocated my hip, my brand new hip. And I lay on the floor and blah, blah, blah. 8 weeks later, Come to November, then I could drive again. But because I'd had that experience that God said, look, you can drive, you just got a little bit of a hold up now, and I'm going to give you a bit of time till at the end of November to maybe think about me a bit more, press into me a bit more, which I did. So my full leg recovery wasn't expected for 3 years, so that's June of next year. But I could drive and I could start to make those plans. So I was ready to roll because God had already started me on my journey of learning. Next slide. Whoops. So just giving you an idea, this is the van that I had. This was my mode of travel in my converted VW transporter. You can see it's got a pop top. And then it was refurbished inside so that I would be fully self-sufficient. Toilet, little shower that was in a bucket, who cares? But I was fully self-sufficient to travel. So God was a great provider in getting that ready. And as I said, I could drive. Next slide. Now, this verse spoke to me very, very deeply because we can have all the plans that we'd love to have, but this should be our guiding verse. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. They are plans for good and not disaster, to give you a future and a hope. Because I do wonder back then to when my leg, I could drive, but I wonder how safe I would have been. Would my leg have dislocated if I'd been just travelling or walking or doing that? So he gave me that grace of time. He gave me grace of time to get ready, to get a van that was self-sufficient. He had plans for me. And if you don't know where that is, that's the Great Australian Bight. So these are photos of my trip in there as well. Just looking at that is the longest cliff coast, uninterrupted by beaches, anything, in the world. God gave us this. God gave me this to look at. Anyway, next page. So this is how God worked for me. He chose the time I left on my journey. God chose what I took with me. God chose the roads I would travel. God chose that I would travel with my dog Birdie. And most importantly, God chose the lessons he wanted me to learn. And that is for all of us. That's the gift God gives us because he directs all of that. And I just want to talk a little bit about with my dog Birdie, because there was something else that happened in my preparation for leaving, and that I had a dog called Eric. And Eric unexpectedly passed away. He was 3 years old and he was the perfect travelling companion. There was just me and my dog who was going to be Eric. But he died in August 2024. And I'm like, now what do you want me to do, God? I just don't know. Who's going to be my travelling companion now? I need something. I'm going to get too lonely. And so one of my colleagues at work, her dog had a litter of pups. I didn't want a pup. Everyone who's had a pup, I'm thinking of your daughter. Everyone who's had a pup, oh my goodness, there's such hard work. But Birdie came along in December 2028 and joined my family, and he became my very interesting travelling companion who grew up. But he forced me to grow. He forced me out because you can't just let a dog free. And I understand that you can't be given just the freedom you want. My dog couldn't be given that freedom. He needed to rely on me just like I needed to rely on God, because I had to rein him in, or else he would have just gone off anywhere in the world he wanted to, because he didn't have any recall. He was the one who gave me companionship at night when I was extremely lonely. So I was so thankful that I got this dog to be able to go on this trip with me. Next slide. So I left for Perth on the 1st of July this year. I went from Newcastle via Wellington, Darlington Point, Mount Gambier, Robe, Victory Harbour, Goolwa, Clare Valley, Flinders Ranges, the Eyre Peninsula, across, and then to get to the Ceduna, I had to go past Whyalla. You guys went there then, but woohoo, there you go. down to across the Nullarbor, down to Esperance and the WA southwest corner and up to Perth and surrounds. I was gone for 8.5 weeks. 80% of that trip, of that 8.5 weeks, was rain. I broke droughts everywhere I went. I pulled up in Mount Gambier and the girl who was serving me said, do you know what? The stalagmites and the stalactites are drying up in the limestone caves. But you know what? The drought's been broken. I was like, yeah, I know. I went to Clare Valley and they went, we've had rain. We haven't had rain for months. We've got rain. I went here, there, across the Nullarbor. Perth received more rain than it has for the last 30 years. Esperance had the worst storm it's ever had, ever. Across the Nullarbor, I had the worst storm they'd ever experienced in 9 years. Yes, that was my trip. I travelled a total of 6,500 Ks. Next slide. That's the trip. So you can see where I left, where I went, and where I ended up. It was a big trip. But you know what? A lot of people say to me, oh, you were brave. You were amazing. I'm like, no, God was amazing. He did that. He did that trip for me. He went, and there's this verse, and I can't remember, but it starts with, even before I left. He had the plans ready. Even before he knew I was going to have all that rain. Even before he knew I was going to have Birdie. Even before. He had plans. He was in control. Next slide. There he is. I just, do you know what? As I put them there, I went, everyone's going to go, oh. So just a little aside. See this picture of him looking up the red dirt? Oh, my goodness, the red dirt was beautiful. I was in the middle of nowhere, absolutely the middle of nowhere. Just past Norseman on this station. I couldn't see anything, nothing, except that, for as far as I could see. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to trust you, Birdie. I'm going to let you off the lead. And off he went. I never found him for 2 kilometres. And the only reason he stopped was because on the side, all that bush there had thorns in it. And he got so many thorns in his feet he couldn't go any further. So that's the only thing that stopped him. I saw kangaroos scattering everywhere and I thought, there he is. And lucky for me, Birdie was a dark colour, because if he was a light colour, I would never have found him. Anyway, next, what lessons did God teach me? I could stand here for days. I won't, because Howard reminded me I only have 8 minutes. Don't know how I'm going for time, but I think, who said that? I've used it. Thank you. Look, I can't tell you, but as I said, I wanted just to concentrate on some areas of answered prayer. So I was extremely lonely. There was just me and the dog. I travelled in winter, so I had to get in that van by about 5:30. It was a long night between then and when the sun came up at 7:15. But I was never alone. God was with me. I could open up my Bible. I didn't have any internet connection in most places, and I could just open up my Bible and just read. I could press into God, I could pray. Yeah, I cried. But he reminded me, I'm with you. I'm always with you. The other thing that he taught me is press into me all the time. Pray like your life depends on it, Linda. And I shouldn't just do that because I was travelling a long distance. Everyone has that opportunity again to pray like your life depends on it, because that's how we should live. And on many, many days, my life depended on God with me in an absolute safety perspective. So I had, as I said, I had the worst weather across the Nullarbor, and I couldn't have done it without knowing he was there going, you can do this, I've got you. You can do this, I've got you. I travelled 120k in wind of 100 kilometre an hour gusts, road trains coming in the opposite direction where I couldn't see if I got the spray, and then this rain. But when I got there, what an opportunity to be thankful. Another opportunity that I had because of the safety again was I pulled up in this quite remote van park, and there was just like rows of vans, and there was just my camper van. And then there was this like refrigeration truck, which was sort of over in the back corner, and there was a man there. And unfortunately, when I open up my van, you can see I am travelling by myself and a dog. And he's not a Rottweiler, he's just that little fluffy thing. And I thought, I just don't know, I don't feel safe. And I sat there having a cup of tea, and he walked backwards and forwards. Like, it was a big van park, but he just kept walking past me, and I just really felt unsafe. And then I went for a walk around the town, and he was following me, and every corner I turned, he was there. And I just really needed God to give me some protection that night. And I prayed, and as I came around the corner before I saw the caravan park, I said, Lord, I really need protection tonight. Can you please place a van right next to me that has either a middle-aged couple or a family next to me? And as soon as I turned that corner and saw my van, there was this van next to me. And they also noticed how unsafe this man was. When I was lonely, he also gave me people to come alongside that would give me comfort and encouragement. Another time I wasn't quite sure whether I should be heading off on this day. As I said, the rain. I don't want to make the trip about the rain, but there was just so much of it. And I left Esperance, and that's down on the southwest corner of WA, and the rain was just coming down like sheets of rain. And I thought, I just don't feel good about travelling off today. Lord, if there's any way you can let me know if I should travel today. And with that, my van hit a sheet of water across the road, and I started to aquaplane, and then a road train came in the opposite direction and threw water all over me. And it was like saying, God said, stop, turn. And I did. I listened, turned around. I rang the people that I'd been staying, where I'd been staying, and said, have you got another night available? Yes, absolutely. They had a horrendous hailstorm. But he answered me very quickly. And then the last lesson that I'll just talk quickly about is that the way of glory that God gives me, the things that I saw, that he showed me of this beautiful country. Like, if you haven't travelled Australia, we have the most glorious country. The red dirt is beautiful. The smells are amazing. If you go to different states, it smells different. It feels different. The temperature's different. But on this second day after he said, turn back, he said, go again. And off I set. And it was still raining. But then it would come down and pour, and then it would stop. And when it would stop, the sun would come out, and these golden canola fields would reveal themselves to me. And then a rainbow. And then the rain would come down again. And then the rain would stop. Golden canola fields and beautiful trees. And another rainbow. On that particular day of travel, I had 17 separate rainbows. And that was God saying, I'm with you, I've got you. Next one, please. So these are the big lessons I learnt. And nothing new. But these are my lessons. I can count on God. I just can. And there was this old bracelet, I don't know, anyone who's a little bit about my age might remember these bracelets, and they were called Frog. Anyone ever have a Frog bracelet? And it stands for fully reliant on God. So every day, live your life fully reliant on God. God is never going to bail on me. There was not one moment on that trip that he said, I'm out of here. This is too dangerous for me. This is too much rain for me. This is too much wind. You're too lonely. You're too this. No. He's never going to bail. He answers prayer. He's always there. He is always faithful. He gave me protection, provision, and safety. Next one. But more importantly, he didn't stop that journey when I pulled up in Perth. He didn't stop that journey with me and teaching me lessons, because we are always on a journey with God.